All right. Big 12 Media Day takeaways for all of the other people I talked to. So got to talk to all 14 head coaches, bunch of the players. I think we talked to 9 athletic directors. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of interviews, but it was a lot of fun. And one thing I want to point out, when you walk in to AT&T Stadium, the elevator you have to take to get down to the field, right? Ted, you want to take a guess which teams were put at the very far end?
I'm guessing Oklahoma and Texas were out of sight and out of mind, or
It
trying to be
was,
out of sight and out of mind.
yes, Texas was at the very end on day one, and OU all the way down at the end on day two. Even though they put them all the way down there, still had by far the largest crowds around them when they did the breakout interview sessions. But I thought it was really funny. I enjoyed it. Like I'm a fan of that type of petty from the Big 12 conference at this point in time. Like it really did make me giggle because we saw Texas all the way down there, and it wasn't in alphabetical order or anything. And we saw them all the way down there on day one. And my co-host on Big 12 Radio, Ari Timken, was like, if they put OU down there tomorrow, I was like, oh, they're going to. And they absolutely did. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, it's probably as much for like there's definitely pettiness, but I'm guessing they don't want everyone to congregate. Like if they're going to get the biggest crowds, like there's going to be people down at the end like, hey, hello, come see us. If you don't have to walk past their spot at all. But no, that's just how it's going to go. I just don't want it to spill over onto the field. All right.
Correct. I had a chat with the head of officiating, just throwing some of the conspiracy theories out there that some OU fans or some Texas fans may have. I was like, how do you handle that? Like, what do you think? That, like, man, we don't have time to think about that. We got to make the call that we see. I'm like, okay. So I planted that seed. Don't do that. Don't do that. Maybe call a hold against OU this year. Just one. That's all we want.
All right.
But
yes.
And this may be strange. And I am not a body language expert. And I know that certain people just don't like talking in public. Like I get that, right? I completely understand that that's not something that a lot of people are comfortable doing. My number one takeaway from Big 12 Media Day was Quinn Ewers was the most uncomfortable guy that we talked to. Very nervous. Was having trouble getting through sentences, was like clearing his throat, was playing with his arm hair, like fidget. I was like, what is going on with this guy? Wow. And I had heard that he's a shy guy, right? I've heard that before. So that's not, I wasn't shocked, but I just compared him to every other quarterback we talked to. And he was the outlier by a wide margin. And man, I just find it difficult that the guy that was that nervous to talk to us is going to go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it stood out to all of us that were interviewing. We're like, man, he was a little uncomfortable, but there was the nervousness that he displayed talking to 3 nobodies. I don't know, it made me nervous for him going and playing in that type of environment against that type of football team. I know it may sound ridiculous, but it just stood out so much, man. It was like my number one takeaway from the 2 days.
That's wild. There's a difference between not wanting to do it and like being nervous and afraid to do it and like uncomfortable doing it. That's wild because it doesn't line up with like what the public portrayal of him is like.
No.
Right with the colored mullet and all that stuff. Like
mullet's gone.
I thought he was, well, I'm saying like,
no,
as
I know.
He was coming out, I thought he was like Baker Mayfield type of guy,
Yeah.
And it's such a contrast to that I don't know what to make of it.
I've really never had, as a player, and now as a media member, like I've never really had an interaction with the starting quarterback that felt like that.
Wow.
It was interesting. And hey, maybe the field is where like all that stuff goes away for him.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be very possible, but it was I don't know how to say it. It's just kind of weird. It's just like, wow, he is not comfortable in this setting.
So I'm guessing since he was that uncomfortable, he didn't really give you anything of any substance to go off of, I'm guessing.
Well, he gave us some stuff, but we even asked him about the quarterback room, right? And Arch Manning coming in, and what's that like? He's like, oh, we're all friends. It's fine. It's like, what? Like there was no mention of like, no, but it's my job. Like I'm the guy. There's nothing like that. You just, I don't know. It was so non-quarterback, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
But
Wow.
hey, if maybe he goes down there and lights up the Crimson Tide, but I would not bet any money on it after that interaction. It was strange, man. It really was. But especially like you compare it, was the first time I've ever talked to John Rice Plumlee from UCF. The dude, he basically started running the interview. He was so confident. I mean, like that's where it was just you compare that to what we got from Ewers. It was just, I don't know, it was night and day, man. It was strange.
Yeah. That kid's supposed to be a stud, right?
Hey,
But both sports, two-sport athlete.
he's an ultra confident dude.
Yeah.
And something I'm sure UCF fans were really excited to hear. Said he's going to do a better job protecting himself. He went through like how many games he played banged up or wasn't able to go in. He was like, yeah, he basically said, I got to stop running like a dummy. So he's going to be smarter with his decision-making when he's running the football. And and it wasn't during the interview, it was off headset, but I had a very similar conversation with Jalon Daniels. Now, it was hard to work through the distraction. He was wearing a giant diamond chain with an Apple Watch screen as the pendant with his highlights running on it, which it was hard to talk to the guy because you're like just staring at it the entire time. You're like, what is that? It was very cool. But yeah, that was the most important thing I heard from him is that he's really working on protecting himself. Right. And even though Jason Bean played really good when he came in for him a year ago, he realizes how important he is to his team and how he needs to be smarter when it comes to the decisions he makes when he's running the ball. So I heard that from Plumlee and from Daniels. It was interesting. But Jalon Daniels, that dude was dressed to impress. That's for damn sure.
I can't get past that. I remember seeing it, and where does that conversation start? Is it something that he envisioned? Did someone approach him and say, hey, you should do this? It was
his dad. His dad sent it to him, and he was like, but it had some other thing playing on it. And then the guy is from, I think, a jewelry store out in LA, out from where he's from. And he was like, here, they put your highlights on. He was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that. That's sweet. And to his credit, it turned out very good.
That's interesting. I don't know. I can't.
You seem like you may hate it. Just the look on your face.
I could never, if that was like the most prized thing in the world, I just could not walk into a place playing my own highlights as it's draped around my neck. That seems like the douchiest thing in the world to do.
So I had a very similar reaction. I was like, really? But then he's very likable, man. Yeah. Very, very likable. He doesn't come off as a douche. Just like you hear all the answers and all this. He's got kind of a higher pitched voice too. Like you just don't expect it coming out of him. And it just, I don't know. Somehow he made it work. I'm not going to lie. Because
some people could pull it off. I'm just trying to picture myself and it's just, I don't know, but he's got a lot of highlights though. So maybe that helps.
Yeah.
How long do you have to watch it before it starts to recycle?
No, it went off during our interview. I was like, hey man, you got to tap your screen, get it going again. But talked to Sonny Dykes. That was actually the first guy we talked to at Big 12 Media Day. And one thing, he's like the chillest coach ever. My goodness. But he said, he just came out and said, he thinks their wide receiver group is going to be better than it was a year ago. And that's a group that had a couple draft picks, including a first rounder in Quentin Johnston. And Sonny Dykes, last time I checked, he knows a thing or two about offensive football. So went ahead and wrote that one down, Ted.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be wrong. He could absolutely be right, but that just seems like a wild thing that there's no reason to say that.
He said it twice.
Okay.
He said it, and then I kind of did after we were done with the interview. I said, I heard that correctly. You said your wide receiver group's going to be better. He's like, yeah. No hesitation.
Well, maybe they got better depth. Maybe, I don't know.
Competitive depth.
They had a dude last year, and I will be open to the fact that across the board, maybe they're a little bit more skilled, maybe they're more balanced, but I will not buy that they've got a guy capable of the individual plays of Quentin Johnston.
All he said was that they were going to be better at wide receiver as a whole, as a collective unit. So
good.
That caught my attention. Matt Campbell he's extremely likable. I mean, the guy's just got a presence in person. He just does. But this was interesting. He said he thinks they have the best secondary he's had since he's been at Iowa State. So you think about what we have come to expect from that group in the front seven, right? The physicality that they play with at the line of scrimmage, that their backers play with, and how important that secondary is, not only in coverage, right? Of course, but how they spin some things in the back end and how some of the unique run fits they've got. That seems like a pretty significant statement, and it made me want to buy stock. I don't know if I'm buying stock in Iowa State as a team, but it made me think that defense is going to be one or two in the conference again.
I would pick them to be one in the conference, and I've kind of taken Iowa State as the team that I think has a chance to maybe improve on their position the most of where people have them picked. I think that they're going to have the best defense in the conference because that's held up for like the last, I don't know, however many years in a row. And I know they've lost some guys, but they keep losing guys and they keep replacing them with other really solid players. It won't take much for them to be, competent enough on offense to win more of those tight games. They had the best defense in the conference last year and the worst offense. And we were the flip of that, by the way. But I think that they can at least improve some offensively, and that could end up, meaning several wins for them. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Will Howard is enormous. I mean, you just compared it, and Tyler Shuck's a big guy too.
He's a legit 6'6", right?
Oh, not only is he 6'6", he was looking like Ben frickin' Roethlisberger. I mean, the dude is huge.
Is he like Blake Bell?
Yes. No, he is a big. You compared him to like Ewers, and Ewers is lost. Ewers is slight.
Like
right
205
now.
Or something.
Yeah, he's slight right now. They'll probably add, I bet you they add like 10 more pounds on him before the season rolls around. But Will Howard looked massive. And I told him again, hey man, you said, have you thought about tight end? You thought about it. And he laughed because I had to do a one-on-one interview during the season, and I told him about that. And so he thought that was funny that I revisited that, but he's come a long way with his confidence.
Yeah, I bet.
A long way. and just hearing him talk about, going through the ups and downs, kind of coming out of the other side and leading that team to a Big 12 championship. It was impressive to hear him speak. And I am, if there's any Will Howard stock out there that is left, I may purchase some. Just, dude, he is huge. I mean, it's just, he was so much bigger than every other quarterback there.
What's he listed at weight wise?
He's got it. Like, if he is short of 250, I feel like they're lying. I'm not sure what he's listed at, but that is a big, large QB. He's listed at 6'5", 242.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, man, with an offensive line that's returning every starter, that's a tough physical group. Buddy, get ready for Colin Klein 2.0, quarterback power, over and over and over, play action off of it. When you got a big, durable guy like that, they've got some meathead they're going to put in the backfield with him at fullback. I'm sure of it. You're going to get some old school smash mouth football, I bet. With, we've seen the ability to spread it out.
Yeah, he mentioned one of the things that he's really been working on is pushing it down the field, right? His deep ball accuracy, outside the numbers, seam routes. So I think K-State's offense may be able to do a little bit of everything.
So I can just see it now. They're going to be running this stupid quarterback power, and he's going to be like running the power as he's like cocking to throw the RPO or hit the gap and go downhill.
Yeah,
going to be cheating.
But if we get to see the Sooners defend that play,
we're in the championship, baby.
That means we're in the championship game. So sign me up to see that in person. Neal Brown, who, by the way, I think is going to come on the podcast again, either this week or next week, trying to get him on before they start camp. That man is pissed off. He's pissed off. He's annoyed. His football team got picked dead last in the media poll, and I would say the best way to say it is he respectfully disagrees with that and did not hide it. And I won't lie, man. And he knew what he was doing. He came right after me with that 162 returning starts statistic for their offensive line. He targeted me, he buttered me up. He was like, dude, we're going to be good on the O-line. Everyone thinks we're going to suck. Our offensive line's going to be good. We're going to have a good football team. They've got their NIL operation going now. They didn't lose nearly as many key guys like they had over the last couple of years. Now their schedule is really tough, but he kind of convinced me that they're going to be a solid football team. This isn't exactly going out on a limb, but I will be shocked if West Virginia finishes dead last in the Big 12. Shocked.
Yeah.
Because he was borderline angry about it.
It's difficult to have a bad football team with a really good offensive line. It just really doesn't happen. What's more common is you're good in several areas, but you're bad on the offensive line. And because of that, you end up being a bad football team whenever really it's not indicative of your overall roster. So the flip of that is a good offensive line makes everyone else way better. And if he believes it, 162 returning starts for their offensive line, sometimes that's a good thing. Other times it means we don't have a way to replace the guys that sucked a year ago. So, returning starts isn't always the best gauge. Like for Oklahoma, as an example, I don't know. I wouldn't say we have a whole lot of returning starts coming back on our offensive line, but I have a feeling that unit's going to end up being really good. So, I don't know. I don't think they'll finish dead last either.
Right. So I feel pretty confident about that one. Now, Lance Leipold, love that guy. Guy's just a football coach, man. And seems like just from talking to him, seems like he feels really good about the offense. But he was very honest about their situation along the defensive line. No, he didn't come out and say it, but I could kind of read between the lines of what he was saying. I don't think they're going to be very good up front defensively. So that's probably not shocking for people to hear, but I think that group in particular is going to hold that football team back, just not having the production they need to have or the talent they need to have along the defensive front. So I don't see the Jayhawks making a Cinderella run to being in the mix for the Big 12 championship or anything like that. Not with the way that he kind of talked about his defense.
Yeah, the way to beat them is going to be keep away.
Yeah.
Just keep Jalon Daniels on the sideline, pound that team, pound their front seven with the running game, and make it a long, brutal day.
Yeah. So a couple other observations I want to run through quickly. Joey McGuire said Steve Linton, who is a Syracuse transfer, said he thinks he could lead the league in sacks. Went ahead and wrote that one down, even though that the Sooners don't play the Red Raiders. Thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, well, hang on a second. Joey McGuire also said that they have the best quarterback room, not just in the Big 12, but in the entire country.
I would respectfully disagree with that.
I would laughingly disagree with that.
But Tyler Shuck, when he was healthy last year, pretty good, and we saw it firsthand. He's healthy, a pretty good player. But yeah,
their quarterback room isn't even better than Kansas's.
I agree with that.
Which, how in the hell did Leipold convince Jason Bean to not leave?
He's a wizard. Have you seen him?
That guy could start at a ton of places across the country.
I completely agree. I don't know. A couple other things. Kelani Sitake. You talk about a first-round draft pick for the all bar fight team. That dude is built like a tank, bro. My God. And to hear him, he played fullback.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Fullback at BYU.
Okay. Yeah.
And to hear him talk about how some people are doubting their ability to transition into the Big 12, and he kind of felt like it was those people challenging the physicality of that football team. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. It was and he's super soft spoken. It was just like, is he gonna kill us? He may kill us. No, he was awesome. But it was the first time I got to meet him and talk to him in that fashion. And dude has a presence about him. That's for damn sure.
I like that. That's yeah, I would find the nearest exit, I think, if a bar fight broke out and those Sitake's hanging around.
You want that guy on your side. For sure. I was so nice to him after. I was like, oh, thanks so much for taking the time. I was like, please remember this, please, just in case. Oh, he was he was a tank. Now, one thing that was interesting about Houston, right? We're all wondering, hey, how are these new teams going to fare coming in this first year? Their leadership, right? You talk about Dana Holgorsen, talk to him, and then we also talked to their athletic director, Chris Pesman, who was an awesome dude. They're very realistic about the fact that, it's going to take them some time to build the depth that they need to have. Now, they've been recruiting to the Big 12 move for quite some time. I think Dana told me that 75 of their 85 scholarship guys were recruited to play in the Big 12, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, they were the most, I don't know if realistic's the right word, but I think they were just the most honest of the new schools, where they're like, hey, man, it's gonna take a little bit, right? We're gonna learn a lot in this first year, and we'll see. Hopefully we can win some football games. It was really interesting to hear them speak so honestly about it.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people have been saying. And I fully expect that. And I expect it. I think that between, the four new schools coming in, I think they're clearly in the worst position starting off. But I do think that it's probably going to be it's probably going to be a growing pain and like going through some of that stuff for a lot of these schools, but it gets back to the depth thing, right? Just you're going up against big schools with a lot of money that have been at this at the Power Five for a long time because, and people are going to try and say the same thing about Oklahoma to the SEC. It's just a different world where, your football programs in the Big 12 have been bringing in, $35+ million a year. And from the AAC and, these conferences where you're talking about like even single digit millions for their TV deal. Like that is a huge amount of ground to try and make up. And, it'll take them a little bit, but I think they'll get there. And you and I both agree that the Big 12 conference is going to be really, really competitive.
Yeah. Now, I straight up asked Houston's athletic director about what he thought about some people saying Dana Holgorsen's on the hot seat this season. He said he's not. And he's his boss. So it would, I mean, I straight up asked the guy and he was like, yeah, that's stupid. He's not. So take that for what it's worth. And then last observation, and I know you're going to love this. It didn't dawn on me until I saw him in person, like in a suit, dapped him up, hugged him. Jamoy Hodge is built exactly like Brian Asamoah.
Plays a lot like him too.
That it all just clicked when I saw him in person, right? We had seen him, I'd seen him down on the field level, right, as a player, but just seeing him in person and like the way that it was the way that he walked in a weird, I know that sounds so weird, but it instantly reminded me of Asamoah. And I'll tell you this, Jamoy Hodge is rather motivated that he was not on the preseason All Big 12 team.
Should be.
And because I put him on mine and he was like, bro, I'm gonna go prove you right. So I am very interested in the type of season he is going to have. But yeah, Hodge, Asamoah, that's my player comp. There you go.
I feel bad for quarterbacks out there if he's on even more of a warpath this year.
Buckle the chin strap, gentlemen. Buckle up.
That's awesome.
All right. Anything else that you heard from the other schools at Big 12 Media Day that kind of stood out? I kind of hogged that entire thing, but
no,
I did 15 hours of radio from there, so I had a lot of observations.
I think all that's really good. I remain and am growing more bullish on Kansas State as the season gets near.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, Chris Kleiman's cool as hell. And that guy was walking around there. I started calling him Peacock. We've got a good relationship, right? He comes on the radio show that I do for Sirius quite often. And I was like, dang, Peacock just walking around with the chest puffed out, showing the feathers off. Champion, huh? And he was just like, I've just acted like myself. I was giving him a bunch of shit, but he
That's
was
funny.
You could tell he felt good about his football team. So he was like, we don't have a Deuce Vaughn. He's like, but we've got some guys in that backfield and the skill positions we feel really good about. So I don't know. I have a bunch of confidence in him.
Yeah.
He's done a great job of blending like that old school mentality, right? Of accountability, discipline, physicality, and then playing enough of the new school, like butter you up, love on you at the proper times. Like he blends it well. And it's a hard blend. And I think he's doing a really good job. And I got a ton of confidence in him because I don't know, the results, man. The
results are there. It's there.
And some people, it's clear, don't know what he did at North Dakota State. Like they treat Chris Kleiman like this is some underdog story. The dude won 5 national titles in a row at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, he
had it rolling.
Yeah. So
the perfect fit. They made the perfect hire. for
I
Kansas
agree.
State.
Between the way that he was carrying himself and me realizing that Will Howard's the biggest human being alive, I was like, damn, Kansas State. Yeah, I feel good about our selection that they're going to play in the Big 12 championship game.
And it's a school that's easy to root for too.
Yeah, it's my dad's alma mater.
Really, it's my grandma's alma mater.
Look at us. Look at us. We'll be cheering for the Wildcats to make it the Big 12 title, right? That'd be OU Kansas State the Big 12 championship game in OU's last Big 12 season. That'd be a lot of fun. Sign me up. I know that. Never mind. I'm just not even going to bring it up.
Come on, dude. I know where you're going with that.
Nope. We're moving on. We're moving on.
20-year reunion.
You said it, not me. All right.